It's great to be with you today. I'm excited to be a guest on the podcast. And my name is Tom Mathews. I live here in Alpharetta, Georgia. And I'm originally from Cincinnati, Ohio. So I'm really a Midwest guy and started a business a long time ago. But before I started that business, I was in the stereo business. So when I was in college, I sold stereos and I developed not just an appreciation, but a love for music and video and just anything involving that. One of the reasons that happened so naturally for me is I grew up playing the trumpet, and so I played trumpet in school, in high school, and college, and then I used to play in a nightclub when I first got out of college, and that's back when they had live music in the '80s. You could go to a club and enjoy that. That those days are maybe gone, but maybe they'll come back. You never know. But I enjoyed it so much that once I got our business rolling, I decided that and you know, as you get a little older, you learn life's short. And so if you have dreams, especially if you have wild dreams, if you want your wildest dream to come true, you have to start with wild dreams. And so I had a dream of having a theater in my home. I had a dream of having a two-channel room in my home that I could really recreate a live performance like the artist was there. And so with very fortunate to have a great business, been very blessed to be able to enjoy that today with not just myself, but my friends and family. And so I'm excited to be here with you guys today to tell you a little bit about it and share some of my love for music and video.
Tom, let's jump right in.
Okay.
So, what made you decide to make home theater a big part of your life?
Well, when I was in college, you know, I did what most kids do in your college. I got whatever job I could get. And so I had a job working for a pizza restaurant up in Cincinnati, where I'm from. And I liked it, but I didn't love it. You know, I didn't want to cook pizzas and just all that stuff. And so I found out there was an opening at a local stereo store. And so I went over and applied for it. And sure enough, I got it. And so I've just, you know, I grew up playing the trumpet. In 1970, I heard the band Chicago, and it just totally transformed me. It's almost like people that play the guitar say the first time they heard the Beatles. I heard Lee play the trumpet, and I just never. I said to my mom, I want to play that. And so she was kind enough to get me a trumpet, and I took a few lessons, and then I got in the band and ended up having that be a big chunk of my life. And so I got a scholarship to college for music, and when I was in college, I had this love for music, but that didn't connect with the pizza business. So I went to work in the stereo store, and the first day I walked in there, they had a JBL Paragon, if you know what that is. That's the looks like a piece of furniture, like a console.
Huge.
I've never heard anything like it in my life. And I just walked in and I heard that and I thought, wow, that is incredible. And then a person went on to teach me about JBL and how they're in all the recording studios and all the movie theaters and that these are one of the original speakers and just about the history and the heritage of it. And back then they had a thing called the East Coast and the West Coast sound. So JBL is obviously West Coast, made in America, and there were quite a few other speakers that were East Coast. But the thing about JBLs is they could sound wonderful playing jazz or classical, but if you want to play rock and roll, it's hard to beat them. They can really crank up and play loud. And so I just kind of fell in love with them. And we our store carried JBL, so we did a lot of promotions and a lot of contests and things. And when you have a passion for something, it's easy to do. And so I would tell people, you know, what kind of music sounded best. And we had it was a record store too. So I would watch them go over and they would, if they're standing in front of jazz, I had demo tapes back then and I'd go put the jazz demo tapes on a
I
on a
love
pair
it.
of JBLs and a system that looked like I imagined they could afford. You know, I'd kind of size them up looking at how they dressed and so you'd be surprised how close I came. And so because we were down in the lower level of the store, so I couldn't see their car when they pulled up, so I could only see what they looked like. And anyway, I ended up moving a lot of speakers, and we had a really big contest in 1980. And for whatever reason, it was one of those moments where just everything clicked for me, and everybody I talked to said yes, and I sold a whole bunch of them. And JBL ended up flying in one of their people and giving me an award, and I still have it. I have it hanging on my wall here in my home, and I just was basically showing people what I love, which is music, and letting them hear it in an authentic way that was reproducing the all the subtleties that you get when you have a nice set of speakers and a nice system with it. And even back then, back in this is the late 70s now, you'd be surprised how much if you had a good clean record and you made a good clean cassette from it, it sounded pretty darn good. And it wasn't full of hiss and distortion like people think it was. Maybe the 8 tracks and some of those things were in early cassettes, but by the time you did it, if you knew how to set the levels, which I
Oh
did,
yeah.
you could make it sound pretty darn good. And the neat thing about a cassette for me was I could put lots of different songs on and not have to get up and flip the records all around. And I know today people have gone back to doing that, but I had these demo tapes and they just sounded so darn good and so real. And with the JBLs, especially with the horn tweeters and the punch of the bigger woofers, it just sounded incredible. And no matter what kind of music they like, but especially if they liked rock and roll, which back in those days many people did. So it was great.
Tom, you lived through the transition from analog to digital. Any comment?
Well, at first, I remember when CDs first came out. Again, the thing I didn't like about records was the pops and clicks and the distortion was inevitably going to be there especially if you had one you liked. I also was not a big fan of having to get up and move the needle to go to the song I wanted to hear. So as you remember back in those days, often you just listened to the whole side of the record because that's kind of how you did it.
Oh, yes.
But with a CD, the thing I was most fascinated with to start with is you could just hit forward and
Okay.
go right to the next song and it was clean and clear, and even the original CD players were very clear. And but I did notice there was a little difference in the fullness of the sound. It felt like a little bit that the analog record had a little fuller sound. Maybe the way to describe it is a little warmer than the digital CD sound. That was a little colder feeling, a little more not so warm feeling. And I noticed it, but I was more interested. The funny thing about being in the stereo business sometimes is you're not really listening to the music, you're listening to how it sounds. And I didn't like that about being in that business. And when I got out of that business and got in the financial business I'm in today, one of the things I was most excited about was I could go back to just listening to the music and not trying to analyze it and see which one was clear or less distortion or more this or more that, more dynamic range. But digital in the 80s was not anything like it is today. Today they've really refined it. Of course, they didn't have streaming back then, which they do today, and now here just in the last few years, the streaming has greatly improved to where you could, it's very close to analog. And there's some things you can do that I've done to my system here to make it even more close to analog. There's a little filter called a network acoustics filter, MUON is the name of it, and you basically plug this into your Ethernet jack, and then you plug whatever device you're going to hardwire into it, and it filters the ones and zeros going into it. And I have no idea how it does it, but I can tell you it goes from sounding like a CD to sounding like a record by doing it. So,
Amazing.
so it's one of the things I've done to my system. I'm very excited about it. They're a little pricey, but it depends how much you want to have it sound like a record.
Is this an external box or it's all software?
It's an external box, and they've got some cables that come with it that they think you ought to have. And I actually put one on my Apple TV in my theater here, and I have one on my new Macintosh streamer, the new DAC they just came out with.
DS
That
200.
we listened to last
It
night,
was
and
amazing.
it's just the background is totally black and just pristine and no hiss, no distortion, no nothing. It just the music. It literally is as close as I think you can get to what it would
Wow.
sound like if that artist had their instrument out and was sitting in your room with you.
I said that. Close
Nice.
your eyes, imagine they're on a sound stage in front of you, and you're there.
Yeah, it really does feel that way. And I don't know exactly what they do, but they're in England and they're very excited about it. And I read about it one day. I read a review and somebody said something like what I'm saying, and I thought, well, that can't be right. And they have a very good process for getting it, and if you don't like it, you can send it back. So I thought, well, shoot, I'll try one. And I just
Nice.
fell in love with it. And I'm one of the first people that ever actually hooked it up with an Apple TV. So before I had my Kaleidoscape, and
Well, speaking of a Macintosh, you have a rack that's more impressive than the one in the movie Knives Out. I don't know if anyone's seen that, but anyone who's got more Macintosh than him, I'd love to find them because I think it's impossible. But what got you into Macintosh besides their amazing sound quality and obviously their
Well, the
craftsmanship?
store I worked in carried Macintosh, and when you're a new stereo person, you walk into a studio like that. We had these demo rooms, and we had one that was kind of the high end room, so it had a JBL Paragon and it had Macintosh. And I remember the Paragon was $10,000 back then, and I was in college, so I'm thinking, who would have $10,000 for speakers? Oh my gosh, you got to be kidding me! And then the Macintosh equipment was pricey back then, but not like it is today. And but the sound was amazing, and I just loved it. And so I sort of formed some of my dreams back then that one day I'd love to be able to get whatever the top of the line JBLs are and whatever the top of the line Macintosh is. And so as we were building this home we live in today, we had a chance to design the theater, and it's got some pretty cool, real theater feeling things in here. So it looks like a theater, and but it's got JBL synthesis speakers, which are the big ones and the top of the line ones they have. And I didn't want to match that up with the equipment that you can get that Synthesis makes. I wanted to have the Macintosh. So I worked with Macintosh and got them to help me to fine tune the equipment so that it will be a perfect match for the Synthesis speakers. And so it's probably one of the few in the country that's actually 100% Macintosh and 100% JBL Synthesis speakers. But the sound is like you've never heard before. And as you know, with Room Perfect, with the Macintosh, you can put those microphones everywhere and calibrate the system. And so the Macintosh processor actually knows what room it's in, the dimensions, the where the chairs are, where we sit, and it makes all the sound go accordingly. And in some of the movies that are out today, where they really have, amazing sound, some of them don't really care about it, you can tell. But others that have amazing sound, my grandchildren come over here and watch some of the Disney shows, and they have amazing sound effects. Moana 2, you could sit here and you'll feel like you're in the middle of the ocean with them, and you can feel the ocean and hear it coming all around. And we have speakers up in the ceiling and speakers in the walls in addition to the ones behind the screen. And it just recreates with today's technology as close I think you can get to being in the middle of the booth where the engineer and the producer of the movie were engineering that sound. And this is what they wanted you to hear if you're in a theater that can reproduce it.
He also has a 200-inch Stewart screen as well for those keeping track.
Wow, 200-inch.
Yes.
It's a good sized screen.
Size matters.
Yeah.
I wanted to have something that would recreate sort of visually the width and the height of when you go to a real movie. You go there and the screen's way
That's
bigger.
right.
And if you just have the flat screen technology today, it doesn't give you that chance. And with the Sony projector and the machine that Mad Envy makes,
That was going to be my
Matt,
next question. What got you into Sony? What made you? Because that's how we met a lot through the Sony forum.
we did. I tried lots of projectors over the years, and I used to have a 3-gun projector and a line doubler on it, and we're going way back. But once Sony really got serious about it and started making the one lens projectors that were digital and had the chip in it, and I just loved them. And even though they were still bulb technology, which was kind of the old school way of doing it, I really liked the way the colors looked and just the feel of it. It looked more real to me. But I have to tell you, once they switched to laser, where you could take every single color and make it all the way on or all the way off, and millions and millions of dots.
Mhm.
I think it looks as real as though you could stick your hand in the screen and put your hand and pull them out. And so I switched to Sony laser with you, and it's been just a great process ever since.
Definitely less eye fatigue too with laser than versus the lamp and the flicker.
Yeah, no flicker,
Yeah,
obviously.
it's so nice.
All digital.
I
And
like the Sonys. I think they're more analog looking and they don't have that harsh
I think you're right.
digital edge.
Yeah, I think you're right. They're very smooth, and the especially with the Mad VR Envy on it, it's got the feel of it's just been all cleaned up.
He is an MK2, in case anyone's
Nice.
bored at home.
Yes, and I have a box that the projector's in behind my screen, or behind my wall there, so I don't even hear
It's in another room.
the little fan. So
Wow.
I want to hear the music and the sound, no matter what level I have it at. I don't want to have to crank it up so I don't hear the fan running on the projector. And even though I will tell you the Sony's the least no noisy fan there is. It's about 20 decibels, so you can barely hear it. But I have there's a box you can get called a silent partner, which I love that name. And so the projector's in there and it just functions perfectly and
It's a pretty
just
good sized box as well.
yeah,
So that's a commercially made hush box.
yes it is.
Does it have intake and outtake for the
It does.
airflow?
It does.
I have pictures of it. We'll share.
Yeah, it
Very
sure does.
nice.
Yeah, you can put it in the same room if you wanted to, and it's completely sealed. Or they have a version that has little slats in it to let the air in and out if it's going to be in a different room where you're not worried about the sound. And so I have a room with a pool table and a shuffleboard in it, and it's up in the ceiling, and you can't even notice it's there hardly. And it's quiet enough inside the box coming out the slats that you wouldn't even know it. So we keep our home pretty nice, air condition wise.
So very nice.
So we never hear it, never worry about it, and it just basically sits in there and does its thing.
And what's that name again? You want to give them a plug?
Yeah, sure. It's called Silent Partner. It's
Silent partner.
Draper, Drapper, and
Okay.
I'm assuming they still make it. I got it 5 or 6 years ago, but it's wonderful and it does a nice job.
And for those wondering, yes, I did the show on the road for this episode.
Yes,
I drove 10 hours to Georgia to hang out here with Mr. Mathews and
it's
do
great.
our program.
It's been fun.
All right.
So speaking of fun, two-channel audio, how amazing is it to sit in his room with those ever speakers and just relax, have a
It's
drink?
something else. Well, you know what the one thing about a theater is it's cool is you get surround sound, and all the different music is surround and that's great. But surround is not really the way music is when you hear it live. And so I wanted to be able to have a room. I write and I do things. So I wanted to have a room where I could sit and put on music and have it feel like I'd invited a musician over to serenade me during my writing.
Dinochrome.
So I created a two-channel room, and JBL's top of the line home line speakers are called Everest, which, as you know, is the highest mountain. So what an appropriate name for their best speaker. And so I have those, and of course a whole Macintosh system, and including the Macintosh tube amps, the big ones, the 3500s.
Tell them the story about the Everest speakers and how they came about.
Well, the Everest speakers are I read about this. They had a group of their engineers get together, and JBL said to them, create the ultimate speaker without regard for time or budget. Take as long as you need and spend as much as you need to spend, but these have to be literally recreate a live performance where we can't tell. And so they took their best technology and their best people and created it. The engineer that worked on that had worked at JBL for 40 years. And when he retired, he asked for one thing for a retirement going away present. He wanted a set of those speakers. So the Everest speakers are just wonderful, and they're big and they're heavy. They weigh 300 plus pounds and each, but they're wonderful. And so that hooked up with the Macintosh tubes, the same amp like they used at Woodstock, the 3500, and it's just incredible sound and so smooth and so real. And the new DAC that Macintosh has, the DS200, is something else. I use for streaming. I use Rune, if you know what that is. Rune is a service. One of the things I miss about vinyl records is when you put a record on, because I mentioned before you play the whole side.
Right.
You'd go take the album and you sit in your chair and the music's playing and you open it up and you read, and inside it might be the lyrics or who's in the band or where they recorded it or any liner notes they might have. And with digital, when you get a CD, you got the mini version or none. And then with digital, of course, you get none. And so what Rune has done is they've recreated that. And so they have what your iPad basically becomes the controller for it, like a remote control. And so when you pick the music, you can read all about the artist or the band or the time or anything going on in their world. But the interesting thing is everything's hot. So any name you see in there, you can touch it, and you can go down a rabbit hole and learn more about them. So if Steve Gadd's your favorite drummer, you could touch his name and find out other songs he's played on or other bands he's played with. And same with any artist, and just a lot of discovery. They use AI to build playlists, so you don't have to do that anymore. So if you have a style of music that you like, an album or an artist or a song, you can have it create a little radio for you, a little radio station, and it's all on the fly. As you do it, a little bit like Pandora, if you don't like a song, you can say, I don't want that one anymore. And so I've fine-tuned them in now to where I've got every kind of music that I like. I've got the songs that I appreciate and like, and of all the different types. And
I liked it as you're scrolling, you can see the background on the album or each song and how it came about as you're listening to it. It's kind of interesting to
yeah, it's
read
really
that.
cool.
So, who are some of your favorite artists? I'll just throw some out there for
Well,
our.
I like jazz and I like rock and I like classical. So pretty much anybody who's good, I like it. Going all the way back to the 50s,
Yes.
all the way through all the different styles from the 60s and the 70s and the 80s, which is when I grew up. So I was born in the 50s. So it's been great to be able to pull those artists out. And some of them, yeah, even today, I discover new artists because this AI goes in and picks a song I never heard of, and or even an album that I didn't know that artist had. And so it's been really fun that way. And the new Macintosh streamer is Rune ready, which means that I can go in there and choose Rune as the speakers, and it funnels the sound. My iPad's the controller and funnels it right into the amps and out to the speakers. And it, as you heard last night, it's just the clearest, most realistic sounding thing I've ever heard in my whole life. And I've been doing this, I've been around it for 40 years.
That's amazing.
So it's been great. And that's probably my most exciting thing I have going on right now, because they even have an app for the that you can use with CarPlay in your car. So I have a server here in my house that Rune makes, and that server, I can access it from my car through my phone and play it in my car. So all the music that I enjoy here. One other neat thing about Rune is the server has a hard drive in it. So there are quite a few CDs that never made it to digital to streaming. And so I was able to go in and record those into my server, and so now all the CDs, all the music I like is available there, and anything else that I would ever want to record and put in there, it makes it available, and it blends the two worlds together. So I have Tidal and Qobuz and all my CDs and some of my own music that's in there, and it'll make that all part of
For
it.
those who are apprehensive about technology, this GUI, it is so simple. It is very easy to use.
And
Yes,
this is Rune, Roon.
that's correct.
All right.
Yeah, it's a service that's it's in addition to your streaming service fee, and you can get a lifetime subscription or do it yearly if you want to. And I have really enjoyed it, and it's one of the most fun things I've done in a long, long time.
According, maybe do you want, it's up to you. Do you want to show a copy of your book up for a second, or do you want
If
to?
you want me to,
Want to do a plug for his book that he wrote? He wrote many books, but
Sure.
that's what I
okay,
mean.
that
That's what I'm
sounds
saying.
great.
It's out in the hall. I just was thinking, well, because it shows more, and with everything you love, and so I just think it shows.
Yeah, sure, I'd be happy to.
Grab it.
Let's do
Okay,
it.
sounds
30
good.
seconds.
Yep, sounds good.
Tom, do you do all your own editing?
No, I have a studio, and so we have our team in there, and they do everything.
Nice.
They're wonderful, just
Yep.
incredible people, and very professional. I have two gentlemen that both worked at Apple. That's really, if I have a secret, that's my secret. If you can find somebody who worked at Apple, you just don't get a higher level of quality than that.
I agree.
And
I
they're
agree.
just geniuses, so smart and so articulate about all this and know every detail, and nothing's impossible. I love their attitude as much as their technical ability.
Yeah.
They can do anything, and they're not afraid of anything. Now I will
And
say
they're
they're younger guys. They're in their 30s still, but they're just geniuses, and the things that they can do with technology. I can do a video, and if I wasn't looking at the screen for a second, they can make my eyes look at the screen, and you don't even know they did it. That's so true.
well,
I thought it'd be a good idea. You can see that, can't you, when I hold it up?
Oh yeah.
So Tom here is the author of How Money Works. Very successful book. He's got a series actually that he's written. He's been on TV many times. So he's got great taste. I'm just saying, I want everyone to know that what comes from him, it's means something.
Well, I feel the same way about the money business. It's not a black or a white thing, it's a green thing. And so everybody wants to be smarter with money, and everybody wants to do better with money and take more advantage of an up market, or be more careful in a down market and offset inflation and all those different things. And so I realized that since it wasn't taught in school, that just about everybody needs to know more about that and be able to apply that to their life. And so they call that financial literacy. And even though we live in the greatest country in the world, we are one of the most financially illiterate countries out there because of it not being taught in school. You don't learn it at work, you don't learn it at home. So where do you get it? Well, you get it the old-fashioned way. A financial company takes advantage of you, and you get a bad credit card or a bad policy of some kind or a bad investment, and you learn a lesson, hopefully. And I wanted to stop that process and be able to teach you the fundamentals to give you the financial education you didn't get, and then have you be able to apply that to your finances. Hopefully, working with a financial professional, which we highly recommend, because I think that's one of those things you don't really want to take a chance on. Money is like your health. When you have it, you don't think about it, but when you don't, you sure miss it. And we wanted to have people be able to feel like they could have confidence that they're doing smart things with their money. The one thing I've learned about everybody I've ever met is they love their family. And if you love your family, then you want to be able to take care of them. And in the event of living too long, dying too soon, or getting sick in the middle, and those are the things that we in our book show people how to do. And we, as Joe mentioned, have been so fortunate to be on TV 400 times. And so, interestingly enough, that book is the most TV'd thing that's ever been. No other one book or one TV show or one artist or one album's ever been on TV 400 times. But
Amazing.
the subject of money is evergreen; it never goes away. And it's something that one of the other things we've done with this is made it fun. So it's not a financial book filled with charts and graphs. It's fun, and we have characters that have a conversation. So their dialogue is probably similar to how you feel about it, about things you know or things you don't know. And then going on TV, I've learned that it's as much about having fun as it is the subject. So I do things like I have my covers of my books in my jacket, and that makes all the hosts laugh. And we've had a good time with it.
Yeah.
It's been fun, and it's the top selling personal finance book of the last 5 years.
It's a page turner. It's very entertaining as
Yeah.
well as informative.
We have a version with the original version, then we have a version for women, and we have a version for the next generation. My two daughters wrote. So I've got two daughters that are my kids, but they've been in this business for 12 years already, and they love it. And for people that are young, if you're in your 20s or 30s, it's different. You've got something that nobody else has. You've got a whole lot of time, and you don't want to waste it, which so many people do. Time's, of course, something you can never get back. But if you have that time, the interesting thing about money is you could put a very little bit away at a young age and have it become a pretty substantial amount of money at one day when you're ready to retire.
That's true.
And the
Yeah.
biggest fear people have today is not dying too soon like it was when I grew up. The biggest fear people have is outliving their money. So we wrote a book to help them to get over that.
You mentioned financial uh, illiteracy. It
Yes.
amazes me a basketball player can land a contract, multi-million dollar, 11 million a year, and they're broke in 3 years.
Yeah. Well, the,
And
the reason
it's
for that
very
is
common.
well, it is 85% of athletes that get that kind of money, no matter what sport, are broke within a couple years of retiring because they don't work with somebody to teach them about money, and they live on that. You can live like that if you keep making that, but when the merry-go-round stops, you better have saved some money, and so many of them for whatever reason didn't, and that's the price you pay. So they end up in having financial troubles.
They didn't read your book.
They didn't read this book. I promise you, it's so simple that if you learn these principles and you apply them to your finances, you'll have a success that you would never have without it.
Well, I think I'm going to buy it and I'm going to read it.
Well, great. We'll send you a copy. I'll sign it for you.
There we go.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So back into the home theater realm again. So let's go over what's your process when you're getting everyone together and you're going to watch a movie? How do you pick the movie? What do you do?
Well, I have quite a few movies available, so we usually pull them up on the screen and look at the latest ones. And of course, the biggest ones are always the most popular. If it's the new Top Gun or the new
Jason Statham.
Yeah, something Mission Impossible, with those kind of movies that people love that. And in a theater like this, long time ago when I was in the business, we used to put a Top Gun on all the time because the jets roaring through. And of course, today it literally rumbles through my room. I've got this huge JBL synthesis subwoofer over here that will rock the planet. It's actually the same size and same setup as the one they had in Studio 54.
Nice.
So, I mean, it will rock this house. And this room has been soundproofed with multiple layers of drywall and all kinds of things to try and keep it in here. But it does pretty good, but I think it may shake my foundation,
Wow.
And it's
which
a
is
big
fun.
foundation.
It is. It is.
You want to give us a rundown of your equipment?
Sure. I have it's all Macintosh, so I have their latest processor, and then I have the little machine they have that filters the electricity to make it nice and clean, and then Mad Envy or Mad VR Envy
MK2.
processor for the Sony projector,
Mhm.
and then I have an amplifier for each of the channels. So there's a 1200 watt amp for each of the front three channels. And then the subwoofer has two speakers in it, two 15-inch sub speakers. And I have a 1200 watt Macintosh amp for each of the speakers. And the Macintosh system totally engineers all that with the Room Perfect little thing that does. And so it's just beautiful. And when you have that, it's hard to beat. I mean, and then I have two Macintosh amps that do the surround channels. So each channel is for a different speaker, and so there's 8 channels of surround sound in here, and so I have 8 channels of amplification over there, and it's beautiful. I mean, it is just clean and pristine,
It's their
beautiful sound.
MX180, the sound processor.
Yes, yes, it sure is. And
How many speakers in the ceiling?
there's 4 in the ceiling, and then there's 4 around the walls.
Nice.
A total of 8, and they're pretty good size. I mean, they're big ones, and the ones that are behind the screen are the biggest ones they make. So they're 4 feet tall and 3 feet wide. So
Very,
they're
very, very
pretty big and
impressive.
pretty heavy. But I had this wall built and had the speakers put in there, and then the screens put up over it, and the screen's acoustically transparent, so the
Mhm.
sound just comes right through it. And I really wanted this to look more like a theater than a stereo store.
Mm-hmm.
So I have so darn much stuff. It does look a little bit like a stereo store, but uh, on the wall I've got a picture. When I was selling stereos, we also sold cassette tapes, and the biggest selling one back then was by a company named Maxell, and they had that
Mm-hmm.
famous ad they had with a guy that had a JBL L100 speaker, and it looked like it was blowing his hair back and blowing his tie back.
Yeah, that's right.
And
Yep.
so I have a reproduction of
Classic.
classic. Got to have that. And then I had some movie posters made for around the room that show some of the movies I've enjoyed over the years. And since I'm in the financial business, of course, the first ones are Wall Street,
I was going to say Wall
and
Street,
money never sleeps.
Top Gun, Titanic.
Yeah, right. All the big ones. So and but these days, a lot of it's my family. We get together every week. My daughters live close, so they come by with their kids, and we get in here and just have all the fun that I've always dreamed of having with my grandparents. And they weren't in town, so we didn't get to do it that often. But our grandkids come over here, and we put on the latest movies, and they just love it. And they my granddaughters on Sunday were over here. That one's 6 and one's 4, and I said, what's the favorite part of our house? She said, I just love your theater. So it's fun to have them build an enjoyment like I have for it, and of course my daughters have grown up with us. I'll kind of connect the two worlds. This is fun. When my oldest daughter was in high school, she wanted to have a sleepover at our house because we have a theater. And so the kids came over, and I told them I'd make popcorn and get pizza for them. But with one exception, they had to let me give them a 15-minute overview of the financial business. So I wanted them to start learning about money.
Nice.
So I created a handout for them, and I went in there and literally went through and went through every step of it with them about what they should do with their money when they turn 18. And to this day, it's interesting. Every one of those kids is a client of my daughter's,
Wow.
and they're all well on their way to being financially secure because of doing smart things with money, starting when they're 18.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
My two,
Nice.
brought my daughters with me. They're 8 years old. They're twins. They came in here last night with their iPads. They sat in, he asked them, where would you like to sit? They said back row. They went in the back row, and guess what? The iPads disappeared. They were just in awe of the room, which is amazing. That's a showstopper for an iPad with an 8-year-old. You know you're in somewhere impressive.
It's fun.
What good is having a theater if you don't use it?
That's right. That's right. Enjoy it with your friends and family. Of course, we
Yeah.
have Super Bowl parties and things like that. Any kind of event of any kind that
Oh, yeah.
people want to come here, and we've got just our basement's a dream come true. We have a beautiful bar that's all dark wood and I have my home office is here. So I've got a TV studio set up in there. So I've done all the TV shows from here, or I can do it at our big one at the office building. And it's just been fun all the way around. We live life to the fullest. And
I
it's
live in Florida and we don't have basements here.
yeah,
And
right, right.
I'm from the north and boy, do I miss that.
Yes. Yes, nice and cool down here all the time. And
Yeah.
it's just wonderful. And I really like the climate in Georgia. I get a little taste of winter, but not too much.
Mhm.
We have a very long spring and a long fall, and I enjoy both of those a lot. And then a few weeks of winter, and then we're back to spring again. So of course, they just did the Masters down here a few weeks ago, so we're back in the grass is green and the trees have leaves on them, and it's beautiful.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's wonderful. It's a great place to live.
So you mentioned you have Stewart screen.
Yes, I have a Stewart screen. Yes.
What is the material?
Studio Tech 100.
Is it? I don't know. I didn't memorize that. It's beautiful though. It's white and it
It's a Studio Tech 100.
is it okay?
Is it?
Yes.
Nice.
Okay.
It's a
Yeah.
monstrous 16 by 9.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. I love it.
Yeah.
What is the height of your ceiling?
What height is that? That's probably 12 feet, maybe.
I was gonna say at least 12 feet.
Maybe.
Wow.
All the ceilings in this house are pretty tall.
I'm envious.
Yes, yes, it's beautiful. And I've got real nice thick carpet on the floor and a little stage thing up in the front that the grandkids like to stand on when they do their dances in here. So, when you have granddaughters, you're going to see some dancing. So,
Very nice.
yes, it's great.
We also should get a good picture of your Everest speakers in the.
Sure, be fine.
That's what we'll do too
Yeah,
before I
be happy
go.
to. That's great.
That's perfect.
Really, really cool. This has been a dream come true. It's just my wife and I. Our daughters are grown and raised now, but we uh, we both have big families, both of us in Ohio and around here now. So we constantly have people coming here and staying here with us. We've got 6 guest bedrooms, and they're like suites at the Ritz. They've got their own bathroom, and it's not like where I grew up in Ohio, where we all shared the one bathroom on the floor.
There you go.
So you're from the Northeast originally.
Midwest, I guess you would say, Cincinnati, Ohio.
His dad went to Notre Dame.
Yeah, my dad went to Notre Dame.
Wow.
Yep. So if the Irish won, we had a good weekend.
What are your sources?
Escape and Apple TV, and then I have a ultra high definition Blu-ray player
Right.
that I used to use a lot, and now I barely touch. And then I have the Macintosh, was it MS500 streamer
Yes.
that it again was when I first got it, it was the best way to stream music into my theater. But these days, with the stuff you can do with Apple TV and Kaleidoscape, it's kind of hard to imagine.
Need anything else?
You really don't need anything else, and Rune works in here too, so I can play that music. And
Wow, nice.
Rune works with Sonos speakers, so I've got in other parts of my house, each room that has a big TV has a Sonos surround sound system in it.
You know, with Kaleidoscape, I never buy a Blu-ray anymore.
Right? Yeah, I haven't forever.
Yeah.
Either it's just amazing image and also underrated, terrific, amazing sound.
Well, yeah, you're getting the same sound as the Blu-ray has, and then you're getting a better picture many times.
You're like movie theater outside cinema.
Yeah,
fan.
right,
Love it.
right. Yeah, and my wife has 3 sisters, and so they come visit, and her dad, and so they come stay here, and they come here to hang out with us and see us and everything. But they come here really to come sit in here and watch movies.
I was gonna say
Every single night they get their wine ready, and we come in here, we enjoy a movie together, and
I'm coming for the popcorn.
yes, yes, it's awesome.
Very nice. Sounds like you're outnumbered with all the women in your
I
family.
am. I am. Yeah, my lawyer's a woman, and my assistant's a woman, and the lady helping run our foundation's a woman. And before you know it, I'm just literally surrounded. So I have no limit of people telling me what to do. And my daughters and my granddaughters, and yeah. So I
You're-
finally have a grandson now, my little 2-year-old
Oh,
grandson.
nice.
He's a lot of fun, and that's I finally got some reinforcements.
What guys coming up? That's
Yeah.
great.
You got your daughters too. That's
Yes. I have a
amazing.
shirt that says, "You can't tell me what to do. You're not my daughters."
When did you build your theater? How long ago?
Well, my original theater and the other house I had, I did in 1995. JBL Synthesis. I got on a waiting list to have them come and install it and do it all. and it was back when they were working real closely with George Lucas. And they did Sylvester Stallone's theater. Then they came and did mine. Then they left my house and went and did Sylvester Stallone's.
Oh,
Very nice. Takes you back in time. You remember Fosgate and Ferrugia?
I do. I had a
Yeah.
Frugia line doubler.
yeah, we
There
were
you
talking about
go.
that last night.
Yeah,
Back in the day, they were the best.
just the best. And gosh, you could have such a great projector, but they're just standard definition. And when you
Yeah.
put the line doubler on it, it sure made a difference.
It did.
Really made
Yeah.
it pop.
Yeah,
And
if you had a CRT projector
yeah, that's
with
what
the
I had.
line doubler, more light output.
Yeah,
It
right.
right? Because it lit up more pixels.
It did. It was just beautiful. And
Yeah.
yeah, and that was for its time, it was sure something else. And
Did you have 3-gun CRT back
did
in
I
the
had
day?
one made by Ampro.
Yeah, I remember
That
those.
was the original one I had, and then I eventually got when they went to one chip. I can't think of the name. It was the size of a VW Bug almost. It was a big old projector. I had to have them cut a hole in my wall and mount it back in my HVAC room. But
Wow.
that was wonderful and didn't need a line doubler. It was the first HD one, and of course now they're 4K, and I'm sure at some point they'll be 8K. So they're beautiful, and the way it reproduces the colors and things, you don't realize that you're not watching a nice flat screen. I mean, they're just beautiful, and we have a screen in our office, a video wall that's 53 feet wide and 10 feet tall. That's 12K resolution,
Wow.
and it's just beautiful. It's the highest res screen
Wow.
in North America, and it's just
50 something feet wide. That's
53 feet
amazing.
wide. And you don't see any pixels or lines between this and nothing. It's just beautiful. It's like a one big flat screen. And so I've always loved high resolution, beautiful, stuff like that. And to have one in my home, have one in my office building has just been great. And
Super impressive.
yeah, it's really fun.
So you mentioned 12K resolution. On the broadcast side of things, do you see 8K becoming a reality?
I think it will. I know they've done that in Europe, but not so much here. And I don't really know why, because I've got an 8K flat screen up in my family room, and it is just beautiful. And I wouldn't tell you that it's miles different than it's not like going from standard definition to HD or from HD to 4K, but it's an improvement. The colors are richer and more vibrant, and the any text that's on the screen is crystal clear, where sometimes it's not in the other lower resolution. So it won't surprise me one bit if that doesn't continue to evolve. I think I read somewhere that somewhere between 12 and 16K is where your eyes resolution is. So
I didn't know that.
I guess above that you won't be able to see it
Yeah.
if they did it. So there'll probably be a point where it gets to where it's just literally like real. Our screen
It,
in the office is so clear that it's like the clearest thing you've ever seen in your life. And
wow.
a lot of presentations and things we do as we teach classes and hold leadership events, and it makes them feel like they're there with you. We've got some video footage of Wall Street and things like that you would swear I'm on Wall Street doing a show. You would not know that it's a screen behind me. And a lot of the TV networks are doing that now too, but not quite as big.
Makes me want to go out and buy one, but I don't have a 50-foot wide wall or the money.
Oh, and I've got one of the guys on our team, one of our leaders, wants to turn it into a sports book.
Ooh.
It kind of has that look to it.
Yeah. Like Wolf of Wall Street.
Right, right.
In the broadcast world, are your cameras 2K, 4K?
4K Sony PTZ cameras, and they're
Very nice.
really, really nice and super high quality. And it just allows us the zooming it does is really, really high quality. And the guy we've got running our studio is just a wizard at it. So he's like the guy in the Wizard of Oz, pushing all the buttons and moving everything.
I love
And
that.
he just keeps it all moving, and it makes us look great, makes the sound and look great. We have great wireless microphones, and that's the world we live in today. We live in a communication world, and as you know, most of the content on the internet is video, so people don't want to read as much as they want to watch, and so we have all that.
That's amazing. Love it.
I'm the same way. When I come home, I don't want to read like I used to, even though I've got books everywhere. I still love books. But I love sitting down. I can flip a couple stations on and catch up on the news, and I can catch up on a show or something. And although build my business, I never watch much TV. I always took time on weekends to watch movies, but during the week I worked.
Tom, what is your podcast and TV show?
I do a show about money. It's called Leadership Live, and so that's the show I do. That it teaches people financial leadership, and then I have a podcast called Leadership Now, and we are the name of our company is WealthWave,
Mhm.
WealthWave. And WealthWave is the name of the company of our leaders that are around the country that teach financial education, helping their students to become more literate, and then apply that to their finances and become more financially sound by applying what you learn. You know, the one thing about education that I've learned is that education without action is meaningless. It's
Mhm.
like trivia. It'll do anything for you. But if you'll take action after you learn something, you can really keep improving yourself. And that works on your finances, but it also works on your passions. So I've read and learned, and with the help of, we live in the information age with the internet, I've been able to learn a lot, way more than I knew back when I was selling it. And so now I know a lot about stereo equipment and resolutions and all kinds of things, wiring, and you learn those things, and you can apply them to your passion. And I think everybody needs to have a passion, something you love.
Right.
Well, your hard work is paid off.
Yes,
We appreciate your time today.
it's great to be with you.
Thanks for letting me pop by.
Been
Joe's been a
fun.
great friend and ally. He's been sharing firmware upgrades for Macintosh equipment and just counsel about speakers and projectors and anything you can think of. He's an expert at, and it's great to meet you. I've heard a lot about you, and so it's exciting to meet you and to get to interact a little bit. And looking forward to having a continued affiliation and association as we go down the road of constantly fine tuning what we have to make it better.
That would be nice. Do you ever visit ABS Forum?
I do. I have many times. Yes.
Oh, yes.
Oh yeah. 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 I sure do. I've been in there for probably 20 years, 25 years,
Wow.
and that's where we met.
That's where we met.
Yeah, we sure did. And I don't typically meet people online and befriend them. I've just got a lot going on, so I don't really do that. But somehow, some way, we connected, and he's just such a nice guy and such an expert at this that I was just gravitated to him, and we've been really been able to make a connection and go build my systems here in our home and really stuff at the office too. You know, he's had an influence on all the different things that I've been able to do with this, and it's been fun. I really enjoyed it. The more we have, the more I enjoy it, and the more I enjoy it, the more we have, and it just keeps a never-ending cycle. And I'm just fascinated by it. And sometimes the littlest things, you know, a little firmware upgrade or a little tweak of an adjustment or something, and it changes it. I can see it or I can hear it. And I love that about this. And it's just been improving from the day I walked in that stereo store and heard those JBL speakers and that Macintosh equipment. It's been improving ever since, just continually, and I love that. I have a podcast machine of my own that works with Zoom. It's
Oh,
called
I
Nemono,
think I think I saw that. Yeah, tell me about that.
Nomono, Nemono, and it's just a wonderful setup. And what it does, it uses through the power of AI. I could do this in Grand Central Station, and it would just pick up our voices and leave out all the trains and all the people and all the noise. So if a dog came in here barking or a door shut or a baby cried or anything, you can hit a button, it goes away. And I'll tell you, I've got super expensive microphones, but nothing
Hmm.
records a podcast better than this. It is just
Wow.
clear. You will swear that person is sitting right next to you. If people are live in the room, it's got four mics and it automatically blends them all together. It records, there's a mic on each side of this box, and then there's a mic here, and it picks the whole thing up. And so it does it in surround sound. And it is just
Amazing.
stunning. It's called Nemono. It's not cheap. It's 2,500 bucks, but
You know, it's amazing what's out there.
It handles everything now.
if you had a studio and you were going to do a podcast in it,
Yeah.
the thing you got going there with the headphones and the mic, that becomes a very old school way to do it when you have this, because that requires a lot of engineering. Somebody's got to
Hmm.
turn it on, and you got to have the level set just right, and you're hearing it here. But it's actually better if you just clip on four mics and you hit one little red button and it starts, and then you just have a conversation. And so
Amazing.
the interviews are infinitely better. Four friends sitting around chatting is very common in your life. And so I get those kind of interviews out of people, and it's been great.
Wow. Yeah, thanks for sharing this.
Yeah, you're sure welcome, and it's great to meet you. And again, thanks for what you guys have done. It's been amazing to get to know Joe, and just having a friend you could turn to, and have him be an expert, and never trying to sell me anything, so which I love.
We're having fun. Joe is a pioneer up on ABS Forum.
I know.
It's his
I
home
know.
away from home.
Yeah, everybody loves it.
I love doing this. This is fun.
He's an expert.
Our podcast is fun. We got
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
great.
All right, guys, I'm going to hit
Thanks.
the stop button and
Hey, it's great to meet
we'll
you.
talk
I'll
again.
do it again soon. Okay.